Has Star Trek DS9 created its own version of the Next Generation's Rachel Garrett. Star Trek The Next Generation introduced many memorable captains beyond Picard, but few left as strong an impression in such little screen time as Captain Rachel Garrett. Appearing in the beloved episode, Yesterday's Enterprise, Garrett commanded the USS Enterprise C, a vessel whose sacrifice helped mend the timeline and restore peace between the Federation and the Klingons. Though her screen time was brief, Garrett embodied the perfect blend of courage, selflessness, and quiet command, qualities that resonated long after her death. Interestingly, Star Trek Deep Space Nine would later mirror this archetype in one of its own short-lived but powerful characters, Captain Lisa Cusick from the episode The Sound of Her Voice. While the two captains had never met, Garrett and Cusick are spiritual reflections of one another, both defined by their bravery, their humanity, and the tragic circumstances of their fates. Deep Space Nine took Garrett's archetype and reshaped it into something even more emotionally resonant, blending the traditional Starfleet heroism with DS9's signature sense of melancholy and moral complexity. Rachel Garrett, the original tragic Starfleet hero. Captain Rachel Garrett, played by Trisha O'Neill, remains one of the Next Generation's most impactful guest characters. When the Enterprise C emerged from a temporal rift into the alternate timeline war-torn 24th century, Garrett immediately found herself in an impossible situation. Her ship was badly damaged after defending a Klingon outpost, and the Federation she knew no longer existed, replaced by a version at war with the Klingon Empire. Garrett's leadership style reflected Starfleet's noblest ideals: calm under pressure, focused on duty, and unwaveringly self-sacrificing. Even when faced with the chance to survive in the new timeline, she chose instead to return to certain death, understanding that her ship's sacrifice was the key to preserving the Federation's peace with the Klingons. Garrett's death was quiet and understated, a fittingly tragic end for a captain who embodied the Federation's spirit of selfless exploration. Her story became one of TNG's most powerful what-ifs. A woman who saved the future not by living, but by dying for it. Lisa Cusick, DS9's emotional evolution of the archetype. In the final season of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the episode The Sound of Her Voice introduced Captain Lisa Cusick, voiced by Deborah Strang, a Starfleet officer stranded on a desolate planet. The DS9 crew intercepts her distress call and maintains audio contact during their 6-day journey to rescue her. Over that time, Cusick forms deep emotional bonds with Sisko, O'Brien, and Bashir, becoming their unseen confidant and therapist as they share their doubts, fears, and hopes during the height of the Dominion War. Cusick's warmth and wisdom transform what could have been a simple rescue mission into a meditation on isolation, duty, and connection. Like Garrett, Cusick symbolizes the enduring Starfleet spirit, one defined not by the grandeur of ships or battles, but by the quiet courage to keep going when hope seems lost. When the Defiant finally reaches her, the crew discovers she's been dead for years. The signal they've been hearing was trapped in a time delay, meaning their heartfelt connection was one way all along. It's a devastating twist, and one that drives home DS9's central theme: the human cost of heroism in wartime. Cusick, like Garrett, dies alone, but with her faith in Starfleet intact. Yet DS9's treatment of her character pushes the archetype further, exploring not just what it means to die for duty, but what it means to live for it, even when it feels meaningless. From heroic sacrifice to emotional resonance, both Garrett and Cusick embody Starfleet's resilience, but Deep Space Nine evolves the concept in a distinctly post-TNG way. The Next Generation often framed its captains and officers as moral exemplars, idealistic, sometimes almost mythic figures. Garrett fit neatly into that mold, a shining beacon of integrity who chose death to preserve the Federation's soul. Deep Space Nine, however, was more concerned with the psychology of heroism. Cusick's story doesn't end in the blaze of battle, but in slow, suffocating isolation. Her strength lies not in sacrifice, but in the simple, human act of reaching out to others. Through her conversations with the DS9 crew, she helps them process the traumas of command, Sisko's war fatigue, Bashir's loneliness,